My name is Steve. Welcome back to my shop. This video is part number 4 of my tap wrench build for Keith Fenner's What's in Your Box 2017 Toolbox giveaway. In this part I will be drilling the hole in the tap handle. The bird's mouth or bird's beak, I'll be filing that in place. I will be cutting a groove and we'll be making the jaw that holds the tap in it. I'm doing final assembly and cleanup, get them all ready to go. This piece is the prototype of the tap wrench that I had picked up at a flea market, and so I'm completing 3 of them to send off to Keith. So let's get started. My next step is to scribe a center line on both sides so that I can lay out the position of the hole. This is 700 thousandths in diameter, so I've set my gauge at 350 thousandths. I'm laying this up against the side of a 1-2-3 block to make sure that I keep it square, and then I'm scribing it. Then I'm turning it over and scribing it from the other side, just in case there's any discrepancy in the diameter. I know that I have a center mark on it. And now I have my center line scribed, and I'll lay out the position of the hole. I measured the position of the center of the hole from the threaded end on the prototype, and it measures out at 3 inches. So I set my height gauge at 3 inches, and I'm going to lay this on the surface plate flat up against the 1-2-3 block and scribe a line 3 inches from the end of the threaded portion. So that should be the center of the hole. Now I'm going to center punch the hole. I'm going to start out with a prick punch and line that up. Okay, I'm happy with the position of that, and then I'll use my center punch. That gives me the center position for the hole. It'll go. I'm going to use the center finding attachment on my wiggler to locate the center and position that. Then once that's centered on the x-axis, I've got the y-axis set with a stop so that I can do the other without having to reset. got the position set. Now I'll take the center finder out and put my 3/8 end mill in. And I'll be ready to bore the first hole. Before I go through with that, I'm going to pull the parallels out and make sure that I don't hit them. It's going to be close, so I don't want to hit them. Okay, 2 more to go. My next procedure is going to be to scribe a line. I'm going to file this bird's beak in here, if you want to call it, the 90-degree angle that'll hold the tap in place. And the way I'm going to do it is I've got this square, and I'm going to lay the point of the square on the center line and then line up the edges on the tangent of the hole. So I'm going to scribe that, and then I'll be ready to start filing. I'm actually going to do it on both sides so that I have a guide to do it. Well, I've still got the mill set up and centered. I'm going to mill this slot in here there's a pin on the jaw that rides in there to keep it from rotating, and I'm using a 3/32 end mill. I'll show you my setup, but I'm not going to video while I'm milling because this is a very tedious operation. To be quite honest, I don't want the distraction of the video camera. This is my setup to mill the slot in the threaded end of the wrench. I've still got the end stop set up from when I center drilled the hole for the bird's mouth, and I'm still centered from side to side. I've set up a stop, and I will be milling it into about 3/8 of an inch, about half of the threads. The slot will be go into about there. So I'm going to mill that, and I'll show you when it's completed. There's the completed slot. Now I just have to deburr it. The next operation will be to start filing the squares in the bird's mouth. Well, it's time to file the bird's mouth in there. I got myself a nice new square file, and I got a medium cut file because I don't want it to cut too fast. I had already, I showed you earlier, I marked it out and I have my center line. So I'm going through and just very slowly filing, checking it against my layout lines, and I don't want to go too far at a time. It's looking pretty good.
Using my new rebuilt wooden base. When I rebuilt it, I made aluminum jaws for it. I worked out because it hard surface, and they really hold very well. Just got there. Check inside. I see working from each side. It's same as even. It's following my center line, lines. Not too fast. It's turning out pretty good.
Yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with that. We'll take up to a 1/2 inch tap. That might be pushing the length of the tap handle a little bit, but a 1/2 inch tap will fit in there. And then I just took a round file and just dressed up the edges a little bit, just to blend it in. I'm pretty happy with the results. The final piece that I have to make is this jaw. It's got a 90-degree cut in the end of it, and then it's got 2 tapers on it so it'll fit down in the bird's mouth. It's got a hole drilled in it for a pin to locate it in the slot. The angle on the top of the jaw matches the angle of the drill, and that's 118 degrees. So the inside of the barrel at the bottom where I drilled it in, of course, it's 118 degrees. So I've got to match the angle. I'm going to be using these grade 8 bolts so that I don't have to turn down the shank and waste a lot of material, plus the fact that they're pretty hard, tough material. So I turn the head down to the diameter. It's 430 thousandths, and then I will put the 118 degree angle on the end. So over to the lathe. Okay, I'm at 470. Got 40 to go. It's 430 on the button. Okay, now I'm going to use my compound and cut the angle on the head. I lock the carriage. Take the burrs off with a file and just knock the tip off a little bit so it'll sit down evenly. And that part is done. And the next thing I have to do is cut them to length and then cut the notch in the end. And I'm sawing them off to 3.5 inches. Going just a little bit fat because I'm going to face them off in the lathe. And now I'm facing the end off. I'm cutting the length down just a little bit. Okay, it's all ready to cut the V groove in it. So the next operation that I have to do is to mill the slot or the V groove in the end that will capture the square tap. So that represents the end of the jaw. It's 5/16 in diameter, which is 0.3125. So half of that is 1562. So what I'm going to do is mount this piece in a V-block. I'm going to take my height gauge and set it on the top, which will become my 0, and then I'll drop it 156 thousandths and score or scribe the center, so it'll give me a center line to work to. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to mill. This is the critical angle here. That has to be a 90-degree angle in the center. And I'm going to do this all in one setup using my 5C collet block. To cut the 90-degree angles in the ends of my jaws, I'm mounting them in my collet block. It's a 5/16 collet block. And then once I get it mounted in there, I'm going to take it over to the surface plate and mark the ends. I'm actually going to be milling them to scribe marks, so I'll show you how I'm going to mark them. I'm going to mark 3 dimensions on each one. It's going to be the upper limit of the V, the center line, and the lower limit of the V. And I've set my dimensions are 0.958, 0.864, and 0.770. I've got 958 set up on the height gauge now, so I'll scribe that line. That's my upper limit. I'm going to reset to 864. That'll be the center line. Just check that. That goes right through the center. And then I'll readjust to 770, which is the lower limit. And now I'll scribe it at 770. So I have 3 lines on the end, which you probably can't see in the video, but I have an upper limit, a center, and a lower limit. Now I'm going to mount up in the milling machine. With one setup I can cut all 3 angles. I'll be cutting the V in the center, and a 90 on the top edge, and a 90 on the bottom edge. To set up the collet block in the milling machine, I'm putting a parallel down on the bottom to bridge the gap. And since I don't have a 45-degree plate, I've got put together my 15 and a 30, and I put them together with a magnet and I'm setting them down with the magnet against the back jaw. Now I'll take and put my collet block in, just set at a 45-degree angle. Tighten it up. Now I'm going to take the magnet out so it doesn't catch the chips. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the milling cutter. I'm going to go touch down approximately in the center of the piece, and then I'm going to go down and pick up my lower line with the Z-axis, and then I'm going to move it in until I match the top line, and that will give me a 90-degree V centered in the middle. So let's give it a shot. So now what I've got is a V cut in here, and then another 45 on each side, each edge, to fit down inside of the handle. Now the final step is to install this pin, which does two things. It retains the spring, and it keeps the jaws aligned as you're tightening them. So what I've done is that I've put some Dykem on the screws, and what I'm going to do with them fully closed, I'm going to scribe the groove, so I'll know where to put the pin. I'm doing both sides to center it, and then across the bottom. And I'll take them over the drill press and drill a hole, install the spring and the pin. I found some roll pins that fit in the slot nicely. They fit very good. They measure 102 thousandths, 100 to 102 thousandths approximately. So I'm using a number 40 drill and drilling it. I already experimented with one of them, and that springs, it's a spring pin, and that collapses it nicely and holds it quite tight. So I'm going to go over to the drill press, drill some holes, and we'll finish the assembly, clean them up, ready to ship. Well, there it is. All three wrenches are done. All I have to do is clean them up, do a little bit of final polishing and clean up, and they're ready to pack up to ship out to Keith Fenner for the toolbox giveaway. This completes part 4, the final of the tap wrench build for Keith Fenner's What's in Your Box 2017 toolbox giveaway. It's been quite a journey. I ran into some issues that I didn't expect. Worked through all of them. I'm very happy with the result. Got them all cleaned up, polished up, and ready to ship. In addition, I'm going to be shipping off some of my shop-built brass hammers. If anybody that follows me on Instagram will see I've been posting some pictures of the progress on the latest batch of hammers. If you're interested, an earlier video, and I'll make a reference to it at the end, is It's Hammer Time. Shows a complete video of the construction of those hammers. And like I said, I'll be sending a couple of them off. I want to thank all my subscribers. I want to thank all the new subscribers. And please keep giving me those thumbs up and leaving comments. I love to see the comments, and I try and respond to every one of them. Thank you again for watching. See you the next time.